So how do you get your component list from a recent reserve study into uPlanIt? Great question. If you're an Association Reserves client, all of your information will be automatically populated. For all other associations, we've made it easy to create their own component list in uPlanIt, either by typing them in one by one or by importing an entire list of components in a spreadsheet file. In this short portion of our uPlanIt demonstration webinar, we'll show you just how easy it is. See your funding plan come together after just a few minutes and start making informed decisions about your reserve budget. No more guessing what reserve funding it'll take to provide for your upcoming projects, and no more wondering if the formulas in that old spreadsheet you've been using are giving you reliable results. We've made it easy for you with uPlanIt.
And so here we get to importing components. What we're going to do here is actually launch uPlanIt and show you what's going on. And I want to remind you that we're recording this webinar so that if any time you think we're going a little fast or you can't actually see what's happening, you can always come back and refer to it later. So what we're going to do, big picture idea, is show you how to expand your reserve study, basically adding some components here or there, or importing components maybe from a prior reserve study, maybe from a different provider's reserve study, or something that you're adding an additional module into what you currently have. So, David, ready to launch uPlanIt? Ready to start going on this?
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Okay. So if you click on the Client Center icon, it takes you to the login page. And as I said, every primary contact is automatically enrolled. So you log in here. And I should tell you that the first time you log in, you won't have a password, and it'll suggest that you need to create a password. So click the Create Password link, and that'll allow you to get set up. And what we have here is a setup, an example here, a demonstration for what it's like to be a portfolio manager. So this is a list of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different properties that this portfolio manager has with Association Reserves. And most of the time we spend today is going to be with, 5-building townhome. So let me launch that. It's a nice little sample case. And what I want to show you is it first drops you into any documents you might have. Professional reserve study clients will see their executive summary and reserve study here. The user accounts are here. You can add people just by clicking one of these buttons. And then uPlanIt is the third tab over. And you can see here, it's a seasonal program. It exists from the day your subscription starts or the day your reserve study is completed through the end of your fiscal year, and then a bonus 3 months into the next year. So for this December 31st client, right now it's December of 2024. So they have access through the end of the year, December 31st, plus 3 months into 2025. And that'll just be a little reminder. As you enter uPlanIt, it drops you into one of our 5 tabs: Components, Control Panel, Recommendations, the Funding Plan Override, and Tables and Charts. We have a video overview that talks about the entire uPlanIt system, and then every tab here has its own little custom tutorial for that tab. So we've tried to make it pretty easy for our users to work with. And there's, again, instructions on every tab. So what can I show you big picture wise? So components, we like to call them the foundation of every reserve study. You can see here, this has, we call it 2 different chapters: sites and grounds, building exteriors. And also you might notice that most of the components are white, but a couple of them are gray. Gray indicates that they're not being funded through reserves. So that's just one overview thing. And the other idea is that, let's take a look at it. This is a 5-building townhome. And let's start out with kind of a pro tip. Let's go to Tables and Charts. And what I like to see when I first look at a reserve study is where are the expenses? You can see here that the expenses start to stack up in about the 6th year. They don't have anything big in the first few years. Another key table is the 30-year summary, where you can see, probably can't see it on your screen resolution, but it's a nice 30-year summary of starting balance, the target fully funded balance, where you are compared to that, and therefore your special assessment risk, interest income, reserve expenses, all things like that. And another great table is this component significance. Here it shows every component's influence to the completed reserve study. Let's say asphalt here. We have 2 line items for asphalt, the seal and the resurface. Together they are about 15% of the net effect of the reserve study. And David, help me with the math here. We've got 2 that are the building exterior, seal and paint, and then repair and paint. 19% plus 36%. What's that, about 50?
About 55.
About 55%. And then, no surprise, for a townhome, the roof is usually a big factor. And here it says 24.7%, so a big chunk. So that's kind of an overview of what we're looking at here. Control panel is where you have your base year, starting balance, interest and inflation, things like that. But let's work with the components here. Site and grounds. David, what do you say we add a component?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
Let's
first
say,
off,
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, you go. What do you want?
I was going to say, let's say we look at the entry of the association and realize that we have a sign that needs replaced every so often. So
Okay.
let's add in an entry sign.
I gotta try to spell monument, and I'll just say entry sign. And what?
Say a 2x5 wood sign or carved wood.
And what else?
15-year life. Let's expect that it would last that long. And considering the age and the condition, let's set it with 4 years of life remaining.
Okay.
And let's say we got an estimate from a local vendor and it $2,000 to replace.
Okay, and I'll write that in the notes. From ABC Signs. Okay, and I'll save that change. And you'll see that it disappeared. What it did was it stacks new components at the bottom of the list. And I don't want it there. I want it at the top. All the components are listed numerically. First one currently is 2123. So let's make this one, what do you say, 2120? So I've clicked the pencil icon to edit it. I'm going to edit this to be 2120. I'm going to click Save that change. You can see now the entry sign is right here where we want it. Want to do this again?
Let's shift it over to the building exteriors chapter.
Okay. And we'll add a component. What do you think we should add?
Say we just recently replaced our exterior lights. And there's 50 of them. Let's assume they last 20 years.
20 years and
19 years remaining.
right, because you said they just did it.
Right. And it cost us $20,000.
And what do we say? Recent cost, early 2024. And I want this to stick right here. So I'm going to make it 2340. That'll line it up to be right at the top. And we've added that. So that's how we add components one at a time. The way you can load components in bulk is by this import option here. And just want to remind everyone, you have to use the special template that we provide. I'll click it, get a look at it. There we go. And this is what it looks like. One tab of instructions. Basically, it says type your stuff in the second tab. It's pretty simple. You can number your components. You can describe it just like we did. Entry sign, 2x5 wood, 3x10 mounted to building A, whatever you want to say, and all your good stuff. And that's what you would use to import your stuff in. If you already have done that, then you can use that completed template. And I'll use this one here that I prepared. If you can read it, it says Inventory Import Webinar Demo, Spa Area. And it gives you a choice to append or overwrite. And I'm just going to append it. It drops this to the bottom of the list. And so now I have a component grouping of spa area things. Furniture, wood fence, spa, resurfacing, things like that. And that's just an example of an association that had been doing their spa things from the operational budget and paying for it every time something happened. It would surprise them. And now they said they're done with that and they want to understand and plan for. And so now they're going to fund for it through reserves. And that is as easy as it is to add components through the import feature. Let's see. What other should I say? If you ever, two things. If you ever feel like you've made an error, you want to go back to the original, just press reset. And you're back to the original. Here, the original would be 8 components. If you are a subscriber and you start out with nothing because Association Reserves didn't prepare your reserve study, you'd be greeted with a blank page. And probably the best idea would be for you to use the inventory import template. And it's probably, I think you'll find it faster to import your components with a spreadsheet rather than doing it one at a time here. And David, you told me before this you want to show how to document this?
Yeah, I think we can touch on that after we've made some changes to the components.
Okay,
but
let's do that.
I think we should note the import for per chapter as opposed to the overall and explain the difference between those two.
Good point. Okay, when I imported a chapter, it put the chapter down at the bottom, just like our convention that when you add a component one at a time, it adds it to the bottom of the list. But if you want to add a bunch of components to an existing chapter, then you use this little import inventory over here, and it'll add whatever components you've got in the little importer file to this existing chapter. Right now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them here. It'll add however more you want to add to the bottom of that list.
At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.